Hi. 3 years ago, I mentioned Argentinian stocks as worth sleuthing. I mentioned it again 2 years ago, and yet again 1 year ago. Since then, some Argentinian stocks doubled, one tripled, and yesterday one of them, Idonor, EDN, quadrupled from 3.5 to 15. That is a four-bagger. What is going on? And why do I mention it again today? Because I want to highlight for you the importance of conviction, which is one of the most important three personal assets for investing. What are the other two? The first is, of course, capital. If you don't have capital, you cannot invest. The second is your authority to buy or sell. If you don't have full authority, you cannot invest profitably either. But it is the last personal asset that often surpasses the first two: conviction. Without it, you'll eventually lose both your capital and your authority. Capital, authority, and conviction. To get truly rich, you must have all three. But how to get them? Like all assets, this can be rented, bought, or made. Your choice. Let's start with capital. If you are a money manager, you run OPM, other people's money. How can you get it? As per the above. You can rent it, that is borrow it from the broker, or you can buy it, that is sell a part of your operation to an investor, or you can make it, that is work hard and save your money. Renting money, that is investing on margin, is easy but risky because you don't control when it will be taken away from you when stocks temporarily dip. So don't do it. Buying money by selling part of your fund seems a bit more stable, but if you don't perform, the money will be taken away just the same. Making money yourself is the hardest because you have to work and save, which takes time, but is the best way of all. Now, how about the second personal asset, authority? If you work for somebody else, let's say a money management business, your authority is limited. As an employee, you can buy and sell only within some parameters and are subject to the investment committee or the boss. For those in money management jobs, authority is often the harder to discuss because, like sex in a marriage, no one will admit it doesn't have it. Just when you want to press the button, the boss says no. Which brings me to the most important personal asset of all, conviction. This is the most critical because you cannot buy it, you cannot rent it from a guru or a broker, since it's only good for the person who has done the actual sleuthing. Which brings us back to Argentina. Say you had liked my video clips about Argentinian stocks 2-3 years ago and decided to buy some without sleuthing them, just relying on my conviction. This would have been dangerous. Why? Because if a stock fell 30-35% midstream, what would you do? Buy more? Or hold? Or maybe sell? And if so, why? What do you know that others don't? The answer is nothing. You'd have no edge because you haven't done the work yourself. That is, you borrowed my conviction. Sorry, cannot be done. A recent write-up of a fund management company I've seen said, the time has finally come to consider Argentinian stocks. It gave all the pat reasons about the economy, inflation, the elections, everything an OPM manager can write and seem intelligent. But are these the real reasons why Argentinian stocks were a buy and perhaps still are? No, they were not. Argentinian stocks were worth sleuthing because of the extreme screw-up by one of the US empires, which you could only have learned by sleuthing it in person. Yes, one of the US empires, plural. You see? If you do real sleuthing, you soon come to realize there are more than just one US empire. The way rumor has it, there are at least 3.5 US empires, maybe 4, coexisting and fighting with each other. The first is the US Navy, with the most assets, people, and weapons, and the hugest budgets. So its fleet commanders are like viceroys, who do gunboat diplomacy and talk to others like them abroad and do it on the quiet. The second empire is the US Air Force, which has less people in the Navy, but more expensive machinery and certainly more up-to-date. So by necessity, the US Air Force is the bureaucratic enemy of the Navy, fighting it for budgets and power. And it fights dirty. In fact, the US Air Force has done some shady things allegedly over the last 75 years for which it is about to pay. Just look at what transpired in the delay of the $1 trillion US defense budget in October 2022 when Congress said formally in a bill, no money unless you tell us about crashed space vehicles that allegedly you keep hidden. I won't say much more for now. Perhaps in the future, when it may point to companies with super duper new space technology worth sleuthing. More about it much later. The third US empire is the hush-hush empire, the CIA and its ilk, both domestic and foreign, but not the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, military intelligence, which is the CIA's enemy. This hush-hush empire allegedly has its own foreign policy, for which it often fights the State Department, which, by the way, makes the CIA less than competent in spying and forecasting. See in my book, The Advanced Sleuth Investor, for case studies to help you sleuth better. Finally, the last mini-empire is the State Department, which is but half an empire. It has lots of people, but not much arms and very little budget. So usually it is a mere letter carrier, allegedly, for the rest, or for the president, unless the State Department chief is ex-Navy or ex-CIA or a former war general. In fact, rumors say, if the State Department determines policy once in a while, it usually screws it up, as it has done recently in South America, allegedly. Now wait, what of the Defense Department, the Joint Chief of Staff? The latter is a forum for sit-downs of the other empire to settle disputes, as is done in the Cosa Nostra, all according to rumors. And the president? Well, he has to fall in line with the rest or he falls. Back to Argentina. Last year, the State Department screwed up royally, helping a socialist jailbird named Lula become president by foisting on Brazil the same election machines used in the US. The Financial Times of London carried a big article recently trying to convince readers that the Brazilian elections were good and no one questions them. You can believe it if you choose. But the result of the election was Lula immediately invited South American socialist heads of state to Brazil, all of whom are enemies of the US, like Venezuela, Cuba, and more. This was maddening, but not terminal. However, Lula's mistake was also to invite China in, and China began to build a spaceport in Brazil, which in effect went against the Monroe Doctrine that says that the Western Hemisphere belongs to the US. No foreign empires are allowed. So the Department of Defense, that the Joint Chief of Staff, nudged by the frantic US Navy, allegedly, swallowed its pride and called upon the CIA, so at least go the rumors, to fix the screw-up by building a secondary anchor for the US in South America. And that second anchor is Argentina, which is the basis of the conviction. Because over the last year and a half, so in the rumors, senior CIA social engineers and political specialists have been coming and going into Buenos Aires, interviewing local politicians to see who can give the US empires what they need, an alternate South American base. The rumor was that they finally settled on a new politician who will get support and help and advice and perhaps the kind of software help that allows modern politicians to get elected. When the market sniffed it out, it began to go up and up and up. Now, the Argentinian elections are in October, but my guess is that by then all will become clear. However, last week's market action already proves it, in my opinion. What was the impetus? In my opinion, the Financial Times article. As Shakespeare once said, methinks the lady does protest too much. The article as much as said, in my opinion, Brazil is gone. We need another base. And it was not just my opinion. The same people I've been talking to over the last 2 years had the same impression. And that, dear viewer, is what makes for conviction. Not just numbers, not just financial analysis or graphs and charts, but personal talks to local reporters, commercial attaches, or the rare journalist who is on the South American beat, or mid-level congressional staffers who pay their mortgage and kids' orthodontist bills by knowing who or what to bet on. Yes, it takes time, but sleuthing is not for the lazy, nor for employees of money management firms. Why not? Because 99% of OPM is run by committees, and committees by definition cannot develop conviction. Conviction is always individual. It involves gut feel. It cannot be bought or rented. It's your gut, and so it cannot be transferred to others. Only sleuth, in person. See Argentinian's multi-baggers as a proof that it usually works. Go ahead and sleuth away. That's all for now. Please let me know in a comment below what you think of the above. Subscribe to the channel, retweet to all your friends and subscribers who they subscribe to, and buy my book, The Advanced Sleuth Investor, read it, and give it a review on Amazon, which I hope will be a good one. I'll see you next time, and meantime, thank you very much for watching.